Hi, everybody, and welcome to Beyond Science. Today, we are going to talk to the multifaceted Kevin Debruin. Um, Kevin is a rocket scientist, a science communicator, an author, an American Ninja warrior, a personal trainer, and a former bodybuilder. Welcome to the show, Kevin, and thank you so much for agreeing to talk to us.
Yeah, happy to be here. Excited to have this conversation today. Appreciate it.
Um, I honestly don't know where to begin because there's so much to talk about and so little time. But I think I'll start with something the most obvious things about tell us about your journey. Did you always know you wanted to be a rocket scientist or work at NASA?
Yeah, it was a long journey, and I basically always knew, like in preschool, like the first sort of education that we get, I got asked, what do you want to be when you grow up? And people are like firefighter, NBA player. I'm like astronaut. So like from the earliest that I can remember, there was an interest in space. I had those glow in the dark stars that you put on the ceiling. I even
Mhm.
put them on my fan so that when you turned it on, I had like stars spinning around my room as a kid.
Right.
But like the real true defining moment was when I was about 10 years old. I saw the movie October Sky. Have you heard of this one?
No.
No. Okay. So it came out in about 1999. It's Jake Gyllenhaal as the main character, the main actor. And it's based on a true story of a young man named Homer Hickam who lives in Colwood, West Virginia, and sees
Mhm.
Sputnik, the first satellite ever, go across the night sky. And he gets
Right.
inspired, like wants to build rockets, starts building rockets with his friends, and eventually becomes a NASA engineer training astronauts. And I'm a little kid just sitting in my living room watching this, and I was just like so sucked into this story and the journey. And I'm like, that looks so cool. Like, I wanted to design spaceships for NASA. Like, so at a very young age, I knew that was the path that I wanted to go on. But I
Right.
didn't really know if it was real. I mean, we're kids, like we have
Yeah.
imaginations, we have dreams. Even when I told people, like when I was younger, like I want to work for NASA, they're like, oh, that's cute, cool. Because
Ambitious.
yeah, I grew up in a small town in Wisconsin where it was like 10, 11,000 people. No one moved away from home. You graduated and you stayed within like, a 10, 15-mile radius of the city and you got a job working there. So for me to like want to go out of state across the country, do something that no one has like 1 or 2 degrees separation to someone who's doing that. It's like, I don't know anyone who's ever worked for NASA. But I'm like, there's this little kid in the hometown who said he wants to do it. So that was the start at 10 years old. And then I really didn't get any sort of real experience until college. So I'm going to college. I have an undergrad degree in mechanical engineering, and I'm in college. So you got to start applying for internships was my thought process. But there's no like NASA internships. Like NASA didn't come to my small school that I was going for in the undergraduate world. So I applied to an internship with Woodward Governor, which was fuel controls for jet turbine engines. So I'd be working on like the F-22, the F-35, F-16, like the fighter jets and Apache Black Hawk helicopter. I'm like, that's super cool. Like that's kind of tangible. There's air shows in Wisconsin. There's no rocket launches or spacecrafts in Wisconsin at the time. So it was like, this might be my path. But I did always want NASA. So I went on the NASA website and started applying to applications over there, but didn't hear anything. But I just kept on sending them out. So back then, the process was all through this website called OSSI Solar, OSSI Solar. It stood for One Stop Shopping Initiative. Now it's intern.nasa.gov. But back then, all of the intern applications were on this website, and you could sort through them and apply for 50 a year. And I'm like, well, I'm going to max it out. Like, I'm going to find, like, there's hundreds, but I'm going to find the 50 that interest me the most and submit applications. So my freshman or sophomore year, I think it was sophomore year, I submitted the 50 applications, didn't hear anything back, but I ended up getting that job with the jet aircraft company. So I'm like, okay, cool. But still next year, let's throw another 50 applications out there. I'm like, how can I make myself maybe more plausible of getting this job? Thousands of people are applying to NASA. How can I maybe stand out? So in each job description, there was like the department. So I went on Google, I found the department, who worked in the department, I found their emails, and then I reached out to them with emails like, hey, my name's Kevin. I applied for this position. Just wanted to show like more interest here. Would love to have a conversation with you. Again, I didn't hear anything back. Just radio silence. It's like,
Mm.
okay, so we're 100 applications and 2 years in at this point. So went back to that jet aircraft company again, but still applying to internships at NASA. Next round, 50 more applications. Now I found the people in the department, but I then picked up the address of NASA and then wrote a letter and sent it in the mail. So I'm like, if they can have something in their hand rather than an email that can get lost with all the other emails coming in, maybe this will be my chance. And out of that, I did get one interview. It was with the Glenn Research Center, which is now, I believe it's called the Lewis Research Center or Armstrong Research Center in Ohio. And I was going to be testing flames in the drop tower to see how fire worked in microgravity. So I had the interview. I was just like so excited, and answering all the questions. Like this could be it. And then I get a call back a few weeks later, and he's like, "All right, Kevin, we're not going to give you the job here, but I wanted to call and personally tell you this because we almost hired you over the person who did this job last year, right? You were so close. There is a spot for you somewhere in NASA. It's just not this one. So don't give up." And like, I'm devastated not getting the job, but now I have a NASA engineer telling me, "Hey, you do belong in NASA. You just need to figure out where that is." So I have like this mixed emotions of like totally devastated, but also like given hope. But again, internship season is over. So I'm like, well, I didn't get it. So let's go back to the jet aircraft company. And then I'm working for that jet aircraft company and I get a call and I'm like, okay, it's like 8 o'clock at night. This is interesting. I answer it, didn't know the number. She's like, "Hi, this is Kathy from NASA Langley. Is this Kevin?" I'm like, "Who?" I'm sorry, can you repeat that again? She's like, "This is Kathy from NASA Langley. We're wondering if you're still interested in an internship opportunity." I'm like, "Yeah, of course." Turns out that my application was just in their system. A new opportunity arose and they went searching for candidates and found me. So then reached out to me, and that was my first taste of actual NASA. So in 3 weeks' time, I pulled out of the fall semester of college to take a co-op and move to Virginia instead of go back to school in Wisconsin. And I got to NASA and I was like, all right, like I'm here. This is great. And while I was there, I realized that I wasn't having the appropriate education in my current position if I wanted to work for NASA full time. I needed to go on to grad school, get an advanced degree in a technical field, more specifically in aerospace engineering, because I was getting an undergrad in mechanical in Wisconsin. That's tractors, right? It's John Deere tractors, lawnmowers, and stuff like that. I'm like, I want space. So I found Georgia Tech, eventually got into Georgia Tech, eventually got into NASA. It's a much longer story. I wrote the whole story in my my second book, To NASA and Beyond. But basically, I just kept on getting told no through the internships, through applications to grad school. Like Georgia Tech rejected me, but then accepted me into grad school. NASA rejected me as full time, but then eventually hired me to do research on the most advanced missions they have. Like we're launching to Europa next year with Europa Clipper, and that was one of my main projects at NASA. So from seeing October Sky at 10 years old to battling through internship and grad school applications to then finally becoming a full-time rocket scientist was about like a 15-year journey where I just didn't give up and I made it happen.
Yeah, that's a great story of resilience and perseverance. I did have a couple of questions towards the end of the interview, but I guess it's a great start to to make this more well-rounded because we're going to be talking about your achievements, but I think we need to create a balance of you got there, yes, but it's also important to know the journey, which I'm guessing you've also talked about in your book, To NASA and Beyond.
Right.
Um,
Yeah.
this is great.